Boy, if that's a toy gun, it's about as authentic looking a replica as I've ever seen.
But I take, full responsibility, for my actions.
Accept the responsibility.
Yeah.
Accept the punishment that's coming your way.
Yeah.
This latest Ja Morant update could quite literally ruin everything for him. It just seems like he keeps digging himself into a deeper and deeper hole, and right when the stakes are the craziest, it seems like they just made another horrific mistake. But before we get to the content, Ja Morant content always gets demonetized. So if you want to further support the channel, make sure you drop a like, and if you're not subscribed to my channel, make sure you sub and turn on our notifications to help the channel grow. And now that we got all that out of the way, do the intro. So we have a $1,000 giveaway from Prize Picks. They're giving 5 of us a chance to win $1,000. All you have to do is click the link in the description down below to sign up for a chance to be selected to make a 5-pick flex to win $1,000. Use my promo code microphone to get up to a $100 deposit match on Prize Picks. Now let's get to the video. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? The case of Ja Morant is one of the craziest cases of sabotage that I think I've ever seen in NBA history. Because prior to this moment, Ja Morant was considered to be one of the most marketable stars in the NBA and was the leader of one of the greatest Memphis Grizzlies teams of all time. Prior to this era, when they drafted Ja Morant, the most competitive Memphis Grizzlies team was during the Grit and Grind era. You can make an argument, and it's not even that difficult of an argument to make, that the current core of the Memphis Grizzlies, including Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bane, is significantly more exciting and promising to build around. You add in very good role players like Steven Adams, Brandon Clark, and hell, even a player that you don't see play that often, Kenny Lofton Jr., just recently went viral for bodying Victor Wembanyama. This team is very young and very exciting to watch, and they were so good that they were able to be the 2nd seed in the Western Conference this year. The only thing that could really screw this team over was themselves. And in January, a series of incidents were unveiled that did just that. So we've covered these incidents extensively, but in the event that you're new to the drama or new to the channel, I'll just go off on a list. The first one was Ja Morant was accused of attacking a 17-year-old kid in his own home during a basketball tournament. Following that, we got a report that during a Indiana Pacers Memphis Grizzlies game, there were allegations made that one of Ja Morant's associates pointed a gun at a security guard because the security guard said he saw a red laser trailing on him. Following that, we got a report that Ja Morant had an incident at a mall with a security guard when he went there to confront a security guard and defend his mom, and apparently he did it in a very intimidating way. And up until that point, Ja Morant was okay because, well, this was a bunch of he said, she said, and having one incident on your record that was otherwise squeaky clean isn't the end of the world. But this is when the Shotgun Willie's incident occurred, where Ja Morant was shown flexing what appeared to be a gun on his Instagram story while at a strip club. This is probably the most crucial detail of the story because we have to do a comparison to this one particular incident versus what Ja Morant is currently claiming. Ja Morant would deal with an 8-game suspension. He would go through 2 weeks of therapy following this, and the NBA would conduct a gigantic investigation. Ja Morant would also do a huge media tour at this time, apologizing to everyone, and said he was going to be focused on basketball.
It's not who I am. I don't condone any type of violence, but I take, full responsibility, for my actions.
And at that point, it seemed like it was too little too late. Los Angeles Lakers were able to defeat the Memphis Grizzlies in their first round matchup, which was seen as a disappointing conclusion to what was going to be a promising season for the Grizzlies. But there was a light at the end of the tunnel because following this season, Ja Morant really affirmed a commitment to making sure he's not a distraction off of the court, saying this during his exit interviews.
On both sides, off the court, making better decisions, on the court, being locked in, even more.
And then, very shortly after, a few weeks later, Ja Morant was once again caught flexing a weapon on an Instagram Live that wasn't his, which got him into more hot water as Adam Silver said that this is officially an even bigger problem. Adam Silver addressed it at the NBA draft lottery.
Talk directly about the consequences first before we got to a subsequent potential to have done something wrong. We were very focused on the misconduct that was in front of us at the time. Most of our conversation was about how incredibly serious the first incident was.
And the NBA has apparently already made its decision on Ja Morant, as Adam Silver said recently, and we covered that extensively in our last video, but they don't want to reveal what the punishment is because they don't want to take away the NBA Finals thunder. And that's essentially where we are currently. I hope that recap was quick enough for the people that are in touch with the story. Now, here's the latest thing we're hearing in regards to Ja Morant, and to be honest, it's something that really infuriates me. And this story just took a very ridiculous turn. You see, in order to understand the reason why this is so ridiculous, you have to understand that the NBA essentially bailed out Ja Morant the first time. I mean, quite literally, there was a video of him flexing a gun in his Instagram story at Shotgun Willie's, but through the investigation, the Glendale Police Department was able to determine that the incident took place at Shotgun Willie's, located in the city of Glendale, during the club's lawful operating hours. GPD was not able to determine that probable cause existed for the filing of any charges. In this case, it should be noted that on the night in question, the GPD did not receive any calls for service at the nightclub regarding a weapon of any type. Subsequently, no disturbances were reported, and no citizens or patrons of the club came forward to make a complaint. Investigation also concluded that no one was threatened or menaced with the firearm, and in fact, no firearm was ever located. Although the video was concerning enough to prompt an investigation, there was not enough available evidence to charge anyone with a crime. Under our justice system, all persons are presumed innocent until proven otherwise. He kind of swept this under the rug, I'm gonna admit. It seemed like they were essentially saying, well,
no one was threatened by this weapon, and we couldn't even find the weapon when we did our investigation.
well, no you couldn't find a weapon during the investigation. What do you think Ja Morant's gonna do?
Hey, look at this gun. This is the gun you saw on Instagram Live. I have it right here for you.
Of course not! What type of evidence do you think you're gonna get in this scenario? But regardless, us as NBA fans, we just backed away from the situation and we just said, hey, this story was trending long enough to the point where Ja Morant wouldn't make this mistake again. Although, yeah, it didn't really seem feasible for Ja Morant not to have had a gun or for him to have a fake gun, or some people hypothesized that it was a lighter, whatever. Regardless, we all moved on until the next incident. The reason why I'm bringing this up is we have a report on what the rumored punishment is. A lot of people are speculating that it's going to be around 40 games, which it's a long punishment. And once this report came out, we got word from the Breakfast Club, which, by the way, I know the Breakfast Club. A lot of us listen to the Breakfast Club. I don't necessarily know them as a basketball source or anything. I've never cited them before, so take with that info what you will. But apparently, Ja Morant's camp is claiming that this gun was actually a toy. No, check it out.
My sources say that the relative in the car in the backseat had a toy gun in the car and was playing around with it, passed it over to Ja, and that got caught on the line. And they said the gun looks extremely fake, like it's obviously a toy gun.
Here's the thing. I've played with toy guns when I was a very little kid. You know, I've had super soakers, I've had water guns. Hell, I recently had a gel blaster sponsorship on the channel. And for the sake of education, and just to prove my point, this is a gel blaster. You can see this gel blaster has a green tip at the end, very customary for toy guns. And it's kind of more animated, if you know what I mean. And this is like my gun reveal, I guess. This is a real gun. The tip over here is actually black. The whole gun is actually black. And quite possibly the biggest indication that this is real is the fact that there's no plastic tip over here. See what I mean? So when you look at Ja Morant's Instagram live videos, both of them, is he holding something that resembles this, or is he holding something that resembles this? Which brings me to why I think this is by far the most ridiculous way to go about this entire scenario. He got caught in 4K twice, quite literally. So do you actually think the NBA is gonna buy this BS? Again, do you actually think society is dumb enough to believe that you're just running around with toy guns listening to Youngboy? No! And now he's just making things way, way worse, because in his exit interview, he said himself he's gonna hold himself accountable and not be a distraction. And here he is doing the exact opposite. Quite literally, both of the things he said he was going to do, he is not doing. And I don't know, man. I don't think this is as serious as posting another video of him with a weapon, obviously, but I do think this is an indication that Ja Morant can't be saved at this point, or that Ja Morant is just simply oblivious to what he is doing wrong. Because at the end of the day, even if the NBA was to believe you, they have to make an example out of you at this point. A lot of people are saying we don't understand what what Ja Morant did and why it's so wrong, but you have to understand, and the best example I've been giving on this channel is Ja Morant listens to a lot of Young Boy. As a result, he's dancing with toy guns, I suppose, on his Instagram Live or his friend's Instagram Live. Now, there are kids that are watching Ja Morant play basketball that love the way this young man plays basketball, and as they should, he's very talented. And as a result, you're more likely to mimic your idol's mannerism. He's a very influential human being and he's very young. They might try to copy his hairdo. They may start wearing the clothes he wears because after all, that's what influencer marketing is. They may be more prone to playing basketball and trying to copy his style of basketball. And they may be prone to dancing around with guns on their Instagram lives because Ja Morant does it. And that's the problem. The NBA can't have one of its most marketable stars making that type of impression, especially when they've come up with a very squeaky clean image for themselves. And that's why Ja Morant could get a huge suspension at this point. To be honest, I think 40 games is the perfect amount of time because one, it may teach Ja Morant a lesson, I hope. It clearly seems like everything that's happening right now isn't really getting to him. He isn't truly understanding the gravity of his actions. It seems like he's not really learning from his mistakes if he's not taking responsibility for the incident. And hell, even when he did take responsibility for the incident, it's not like it did anything. He took responsibility for the incident very shortly after the first suspension, and he took responsibility once again at the end of the season, and then we had another incident. So even if he did take responsibility, his actions didn't back up the fact that he was taking responsibility. Now, we were supposed to get you this video yesterday, but unfortunately, right when we were about to complete the video, the Zion Williamson news came out, and then the Chris Paul news came out. And usually if a actual roster transaction that is significant comes up, I will automatically prioritize it. And in this case, I did that. But the good news is, since we waited an extra day, we actually got Adam Silver's reaction to this lie that Ja Morant is telling. So check this out. According to The Athletic, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver reiterated that the league is waiting until the NBA Finals are over to announce its punishment for Grizzlies star Ja Morant after he appeared to once again brandish a gun on social media last month. Silver also said that the NBA is investigating whether the gun Morant waved on an Instagram video was real or not. Silver had this to say: "I'm aware, of course, of these reports on social media about whether the gun was in fact a gun," Silver said on The Dan Patrick Show. "Here's what you need to know. A Monday report from the Breakfast Club show said that Morant may have been holding a toy gun instead of a real weapon. The validity of such a report has not been determined and was even disputed while on air by the show, but it has reached Silver's desk and is significant enough for him to bring them up publicly." Silver was inconclusive as to whether it would make a difference if the gun was real or not. He said that either way, he was incredibly disappointed to see that Morant was live streaming a gun, or something that certainly looks like a gun, a Glock, in a kind of reckless manner. Silver said every piece of information that the league finds will be considered relevant, and Silver said before Game 1 of the Finals that the league had uncovered a fair amount of additional information in its investigation on Morant. This article is really good because it also goes into what Adam Silver was very troubled by, because the NBA commissioner said that the issue for Morant in the first incident was treating a gun as a toy, and later called it a danger to society for him to hold it during a live stream. Without getting into gun issues in terms of propriety of owning guns and the use of guns, I think everyone agrees that gun safety is critically important and that guns aren't toys. So it's something that I'm thinking a lot about, because again, I'm not going to get into the specifics of the investigation, but in fact, if you are live streaming something that to the world looks exactly like a gun and in a frankly reckless manner, should it matter whether or not it's a real gun? So I think 40 games is a pretty decent amount of time, long enough for him to learn a lesson, also long enough for him to clearly understand what he did was really, really bad, but also not long enough to the point where you're gonna see his entire season taken away, short enough to the point where he could return to the Memphis Grizzlies and be a very crucial part of their potential playoff push. Bear in mind, the Grizzlies has performed fine without Ja Morant on the roster in the past. At the end of the day, a lot of people might be saying I'm being too hard on Ja Morant, but Adam Silver has been very light on Ja Morant so far. And cases like this may require strict disciplinary action. So let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about all this, man. How long do you think Ja Morant should be suspended for? Do you actually believe that he was carrying around a toy gun? I'd like to hear what you have to say. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.